David Ojabo finally made his preseason return after missing the first preseason game as he was not cleared by doctors. And to be honest, I thought he looked pretty good. Now, I'm going to play what John Harbaugh had to say about it after the game. But if you follow this channel for any amount of time, you know that I've been pretty high on David Ojabo. I thought he was kind of a steal in the second round. I do think he probably would have been a day one guy had he not tore his Achilles on his pro day, which is awful to see. So he had an outstanding last season in Michigan. Coming into the draft, he had some hype behind him and, of course, had that unfortunate injury at his pro day. The Ravens were able to snag him in mid-second round, which I think is definitely good value. And then we all know his injury history. Last year, only played a few games and then went out again. We didn't really see him pop last season when he was available. And look, we're certainly not going to knock him. He's coming back from injury. He's a young NFL player. It takes a lot of game time oftentimes for edge rushers or any player at any position to really hit their stride. So by no means am I knocking David Ojabo for not going out there and tearing up the league in the 5 games he's played. That would be ridiculous. I say that, though, because I remember watching him last preseason, and he wasn't really popping off the TV screen for me. Again, no disrespect there, but he's developing. I did think in this game, though, he did look really good coming off the edge. He looked fast. He looked explosive. It did look like there were times when he was just a step away from reaching Heineke off the edge before he was able to get rid of the football. We saw him drop back in coverage and get really good depth quickly. I thought he was, like you're going to hear John Harbaugh point out, he was really good against the run. Overall, I would say this is a very successful preseason debut for David Ojabo, and I left feeling very encouraged about where he's at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and play what John Harbaugh had to say, and then we'll take it from there after.
John, I know last week we asked you about David Ojabo and he wasn't clear. Today, what was your impression of him?
Seemed like he was out there and was a factor. Looked like he was really stout against the run. Thought he set some edges really well. Had his eyes back inside, falling back when the ball tried to get in the C gap a few times. And then pass rush was a factor out there. Had some pressures. He looked good.
How encouraging is that when, you've seen him in practice, obviously, what he's doing there, but when you get him in game situations?
That's a great point. I mean, Brian, that's exactly right. It's great in practice and you're excited about it, especially in pads. But in the game is when it's football, so to see guys step up in games is really important. That's why the games do have a lot of value.
Now, I'm excited to go back and try to watch the film on David Ojabo's game and just really dive into every snap that he had, because I did think he looked like he has progressed from last season, and he really hasn't played hardly at all. So it's encouraging to see him get out there and make some plays and just get back in some game action. That has been one of the biggest question marks on the Ravens defense going into this season is their pass rush. Obviously, they have the middle of the line anchored down, but they lost Jadeveon Clowney. They were able to bring back Kyle Van Noy, which obviously looks like a genius pickup at training camp last season. But my biggest question marks has been, can Odafe Oweh become a consistent presence in pass rush, and can David Ojabo also develop into a consistent pass rusher? I think both guys are ultra talented. I think they both have all the skill in the world to be able to do that. But potential and then can they actually do it are two separate things. So I'm really excited to see both of those guys this upcoming season, because we've been hearing reports from training camp that Odafe Oweh has just been tearing it up in training camp. And then, of course, David Ojabo coming back, a young guy, hopefully can get some of those quality reps even in their last preseason game going into their regular season against the Chiefs. And hopefully he can become a consistent part of this pass rush as well. But I want to know what you guys think about David Ojabo's preseason performance. Again, it's preseason. He's not playing against starters. It doesn't mean a ton in the grand scheme of things, but it was good to see him go out there and make some plays and just play football again. So I wish him nothing but a healthy, successful season and career going forward. But I want to know what you guys think. What did you take away from his performance, if anything? And what are your expectations of him if he can stay healthy going into the season? Let me know in the comments. If you're new here, subscribe if you want to stay up to date on all Baltimore Ravens news. And I will see you all in the next video. Go Ravens!